Everyone knows that John Keats died poor, unfamous, and unrecognized. Then how did it happen that his name remained alive to such an extent that today it is shining on the horizon of world's greatest poetry? Well, after his death on Feb 23, 1821, the world nearly let his name disappear into silence, as it always happens with every dying person. But his friend Joseph Severn, his devoted friend, who nursed him during his last painful months, refused to let that happen. With grief and gloom deep down his own soul, he spent next 58 years of his life as a quiet guardian of Keats' legacy. He wrote letters. He talked about Keats' genius to anyone who would listen, and he tried hard and struggled to keep his friend's memory from being buried by neglect and criticism. When he became British consul and built a new life for him in Rome, his heart was still wandering in that small room near the Spanish steps where John Keats breathed his last. When Severn died himself in 1879, at the age of 85, he just carried one last aching wish before moving to grave. He just requested that he must be buried next to John Keats in Protestant cemetery in Rome. On his personal request on his gravestone, there are just four words carved. Just four words. And the words are, a friend of John Keats. Is there any other example of such beautiful friendship, such dedication, such devotion, such celebrated relation in the literary history? His greatest act of devotion came earlier. Well, he was very heartbroken by the epitaph writ in water that he had chosen in despair. He could not tolerate, he could not bear that the world remember his friend as forgotten. Therefore, he raised a monument, and on that stone, beneath Keats' name, he ensured that these immortal lines were carved to answer the bitterness of writ in water. The lines by Joseph Severn are, Keats, if thy cherished name be writ in water, every drop has fallen from some mourner's cheek, a sacred tribute, such as heroes seek, though oft in vain, for dazzling deeds of slaughter. Sleep on, sleep on, not honored less, for epitaph so meek. The monument says that the world thought that Keats would be forgotten because he was not a soldier, he was a poet. But the readers loved him so much that the tears kept him alive. He didn't need any grand tomb. The simple epitaph is enough. In fact, his poetry is his real monument. And see today, even after 200 years later, we read Keats, we need Keats, we listen Keats. Keats is everywhere in every literature class, and his poetry is taught in almost every university across the world. This is how the great people live, and this is how the great people die.